You could do Zoom because the road is flooded. Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, Chambers County Probate Court come to order. If you're going to testify today, if you'll raise your right hand, please, so we can swear you in.
Mhm.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're giving today is true and correct? So help you God.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
I do.
Yes.
Okay, you can put your hand down. All right, first on the docket, number 76, estate of Lenny Evelyn Stanley. Good morning, Mr. Brannick.
Good morning, Judge.
And you may proceed.
All right, thank you. Let us state your name for the record.
Linda Vaughn.
And Ms. Vaughn, you reside in Atlanta, Texas. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, we're here on the estate of Lenny Evelyn Stanley. Is that correct?
Correct.
And she resided in Chambers County.
Yes.
And she owned property and still owns property of the state in Chambers County. And there's a necessity for administration of this estate. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Now, on November 20th of 2014, she executed a will, did she not?
She did.
And did you recognize her signature?
That is her signature.
And you've seen it many times.
Many times.
All right, and that's her signature. Now, at the time that this will was made, she did not adopt or have any more children after this will. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, she owned, like I said, various property, real property, vehicles and furniture and whatnot there in Chambers County with a probable value in excess of $5,000. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, in addition to that, Ms. Vaughn, you're not disqualified, i.e., you're not a convicted felon or anything like that that would exclude you from serving as the executrix of this estate.
I'm not.
All right. Now, we also know that the will did not leave the state of Texas or any charity as a beneficiary. Is that right?
Correct.
And with this, are you asking this court to follow the will and appoint you as the executrix of the state of Lenny Evelyn Stanley?
Yes.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, everybody, Mr. Will of Probate and authorized letters. Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you, Judge.
Have a good day.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Cause number 86, State of J. Noel. Good morning, Ms. Walsh, Mr. Dawson.
How are you?
Good. You may proceed.
I believe I see both of our witnesses. And Mr. Dawson, okay.
Yeah.
I'll call my first witness, Gina Miller. Ms. Miller, could you please state your full name for the court?
Gina Diane Miller.
And how were you acquainted with the decedent, Jay Knoll?
Family friend,
And how long did you know him?
over 50 years.
Did Mr. Knoll pass away on March 17th, 2023 in Mont Bellevue, Chambers County, Texas at the age of 88?
Yes.
And was Mr. Knoll a resident of Chambers County at the time of his death?
Yes.
Do you have any personal knowledge of whether Mr. Knoll had a will?
No. Well, we assumed he had one.
Okay, but you never had any conversations with him
No.
about?
No.
Was he married at the time of his death?
No, he was a widow.
I just need this. You can have that.
Mr. Dawson, we can hear you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Ms. Miller, Mr. Knoll was not married at the time of his death, but he had been married 2 times previously to Betty Knoll and Marcia King. Is that correct?
It's Kling, Marcia Kling.
Okay, thank you. And both of those ladies predeceased Mr. Knoll, is that correct?
Yes.
And Mr. Knoll had 3 children, is that correct?
Yes.
And who are those children?
Jalen Knoll, Amy Birch, and Bruce Knoll.
Okay, and other than those 3 children, do you know any other person that Mr. Knoll may have taken in and raised as his own child?
No,
And you do not stand to inherit from Mr. Knoll's estate, correct?
that is correct.
We have not compensated you in any way for your testimony. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll pass the witness.
Mr. Dawson.
Okay, good morning. Gina Miller, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, my name is Dawson, Dick Dawson. I'm an attorney ad litem. You and I have spoke, have we not?
Yes, we have.
Okay, do you have any financial gain by your testimony today?
No, I do not.
And how long have you known the decedent, Jay Knoll?
Over 50 years.
And you're acquainted with his children?
Yes, I am.
What are the first, how many kids does he have?
3.
Do you know their names?
Yes.
What are
Ja-
the first names of each child, please?
Jalen, Bruce, and Amy.
Okay, and Jalen is the applicant in this case, seeking to be in charge of the estate. Is that right?
That is correct.
And were there any other children?
No.
Any person that was adopted?
No.
Okay, did he ever make any representation of an adopted child?
No.
Did he ever make any representation of any other child?
No.
And at the time of his death, he was a single person, is that correct?
Correct.
And where did he reside at that time?
He was in a nursing home in Chambers County.
Okay, very good. And that's all I have. Thank you for your testimony, ma'am. Pass it
All right,
over.
Ms. Wallace, call your next witness, ma'am.
Our next witness is Paula Matrenga. She seems to maybe be having audio issues. She's saying she can't hear us. Paula, can you hear us?
She's on with the clerk, I know.
Holly, you're muted. All right, can you hear us now?
I think she's on the phone with the clerk. But while we're waiting for her, I can call my own client to talk about looking for a will.
Okay, go ahead.
Ms. Noel, could you please state your full name for the court?
Jalen Audrey Knoll.
And how are you acquainted with Jay Knoll, the decedent?
He was my father.
And he passed away on March 17th, 2023 in Mont Belvieu, Chambers County, Texas at the age of 88. Is that correct?
Yes, he did.
And to the best of your knowledge, did your father have a will?
He thought he did. We looked and looked and looked, could not find anything. His house flooded. And so he was not interested in participating in doing a will. He said everyone knew his wishes.
Okay. But you guys did look for a will at his home and his belongings.
100%. My
And-
house, his house, everyone's house for actually probably about 6 weeks,
Okay.
making sure we didn't miss anything.
Okay. I'll pass the witness. Thank you.
Good
Stuff.
morning, Jay. Good morning, Jaylyn.
Good morning.
We've talked before, have we not?
We have.
And you're one of the children of the decedent, Jay Knoll, right?
Yes, I am.
Was there any other children born or adopted by your dad?
Yes, I have a brother and a sister, biological
Okay.
brother and sister, no adopted children.
Okay, so there's 2 other siblings, no other children other than you and two siblings, is that right?
Correct.
And do you feel like you've made an exhaustive and a diligent search for a will?
Yes, sir, we all have.
And you found nothing that may amount to a testamentary desire, is that correct?
No, sir, we found nothing at all.
Okay, now, at the time of his death, did he own any real estate?
No, sir, he did not.
Okay, let me put it another way. At the time of his death, did he own any land?
No, sir, he did not.
And where did he reside?
He was at the Mount Bellevue Rehab Facility and Nursing Home. I don't know the name, but that's where he'd been for several months.
Okay, and so he was in that nursing home or in the hospital for quite some time prior to his demise, is that right?
That's correct.
But for all practical purposes, that is for, his residence was in Chambers County, Texas, is that right?
Yes, sir, it was.
All right, and he was a single person at the time of his death,
That's
correct?
correct.
And, have you ever been, convicted of a criminal offense other than maybe some traffic tickets?
Nothing at all. No, sir.
Okay. And did anyone cohabit with him that may have risen to a level of a common law wife?
No, sir. Not his previous wife was deceased and he lived alone up until his death.
Okay. All right. Ma'am, I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you. I'm sure you'll do a good job as administrator. That's all I have. I pass the witness.
All right, Ms. Matranga, can you hear us now?
I think she's still having audio issues, Your Honor. What I was thinking we could do is if our client could call on her cell phone and have Paula on audio on her cell phone and we can see
Yeah,
her.
you can either do that or you can have her call here and I can put her on my office phone, whichever's easier.
Okay, we'll just try to call her real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, if you'll mute yourself, Lori, we'll go ahead to the next one while we're waiting to get that done.
She's picking up, Your Honor.
Okay.
Paula,
Yes,
can you hear us?
yes, I can.
Okay, Judge, can you hear Paula on the
I
phone?
can hear you. You may proceed.
Paula, could you please state your full name for the court?
Yes, Paula Erlene Matranka.
And how were you acquainted with Jay Knoll, the decedent?
He was the father of a friend of mine from high school, Jalen Knoll,
And how long did you know Mr. Knoll?
50 years.
And did he pass away on March 17th, 2023 in Mount Bellevue, Chambers County, Texas at the age of 88?
Yes, he did.
And was he a resident of Chambers County at the time of his death?
Yes.
Do you have any personal knowledge of whether Mr. Knoll had a will?
I have no direct personal knowledge, only information from Jalen and a mutual friend, Gina Miller.
Okay. Was Mr. Knoll married at the time of his death?
No, he was not.
Had he been married previously?
Yes, twice.
Okay, and were those marriages to Betty Knoll and Marcia Kling?
Yes, it was.
Okay, and both of those marriages ended upon those ladies' deaths prior to Mr. Knoll, is that correct?
Yes.
And Mr. Knoll had 3 children, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
What are those children's names?
Jalen, Bruce, and Amy.
And other than those 3 children, Mr. Knoll never took anyone into his home and raised them as an adopted child to your knowledge, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you don't stand to inherit from this estate, correct?
No, I don't.
And we have not compensated you in any way for your testimony today, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. I'll pass the witness. Mr. Dawson, can you hear her?
Yes, I
And you
can.
may proceed.
Okay, Paula Matrang, is that correct? Did I say that right?
Yes, Matranka.
Okay, okay. And you were acquainted with the decedent Jay Knoll for how many years?
50.
Okay, did you know his kids?
Yes.
Okay, and did you go to school with any of his children?
Yes, I did.
And what area did you all grow up in?
LaPorte, Texas.
Okay, and at the time of his death, was he a single person?
Yes.
And did he ever speak of any other children other than the 3?
No, he did not.
Do you know the names of the 3 children?
Say again, Paula?
Yes.
Say the names again, you broke up.
Oh, sorry. Jalen, Bruce, and Amy.
Okay, and you're aware that Jaylyn has petitioned the court to be the administrator of the estate, is that right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, do you know if she has any criminal offenses other than maybe a traffic tickets?
She does not that I know of.
Okay, was there any child that was adopted by Jay Knoll?
No.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you for your testimony and your assistance with the help with the family. That's all I have. Pass the witness.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, Ms. Walsh, anything else?
That's all on the airship, Your Honor. We do have an agreement on the attorney ad litem's fees, and a check has been mailed for those fees.
Okay, so I'm gonna approve the attorney ad litem fees and the airship. I see Mr. Dawson signed off on it. And I'm gonna approve the declaration declaring airship. And independent administration. Any other testimony on that?
I do, Your Honor. I need
Go ahead.
to
You may proceed.
add to my client's qualification.
Yes, ma'am.
So could you please state your full name for the court again?
Jaylyn Audrey Noel.
Okay, and is there a necessity for the administration of your father's estate?
Yes, there is.
And your siblings and you have all filed consents with this court for you to serve as independent administrator of your father's estate without bond, is that correct?
That is correct.
Your Honor, I would ask that you take judicial notice that those original consents are on file with the court.
Yeah, so done.
Ms. Knoll, you're qualified to serve as independent administrator, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
Do you know of any reason that you would be disqualified from serving?
None that I know of.
Have you ever been convicted of a felony?
No, ma'am.
Have you ever been convicted of any crime of moral turpitude?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And there's not a necessity to appoint appraisers because your father's estate is not taxable, is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. By order granting independent administration, authorized letters. Thank you, Counselor.
Your Honor, is bond waived?
I think it's in the petition that she asked for the waiver of a bond.
And our devotees all consented that she serve without bond.
Okay, yeah, I will go ahead and waive the bond. So,
Thank you, Your Honor.
all right, anything else?
Your Honor, may we be dismissed?
All right. Yes, ma'am, you may be. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, cause number 87, the state of Saeed Shavir Hussein. Mr. Dawson.
Yes, Judge, I have the petitioner here, who is Jasmine Hussein. And the two witnesses are Saeed Hussein and Kimberly Mayfield. So there will be three persons testifying. I see Saeed on the screen, and probably Ms. Mayfield is there with him, I hope. Saeed, if you'll take yourself off mute, please.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay.
Okay, Judge, if you're gonna swear in the parties, or would you like me to proceed?
We should have sworn it. Did we swear you in a while ago?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, you may proceed.
Okay, I would first call Jasmine Hussein. Would you state your name, please?
Yasmin Hussein.
Okay, and how are you related to Saeed Hussein?
His wife.
And were you married in 1978?
Yes.
Now, help me here. What is the full name for your husband?
Syed Shabir Hussein.
Okay, and you were married quite a number of years. Seems to me approaching almost 50 years. Is that right?
Yes.
And how many children were born between you and Saeed?
2.
And what were their names?
Ghazala and Syed Ali.
Okay, now he was previously married, right?
Yes.
And how many children were born to that marriage?
4.
And what are their names?
Kazim, Shamshir, Sakina, Amir.
Okay, and so that would be a total of 6 children, is that right?
Yes.
And of those 6, 2 of the children, you were the mom, is that right?
Yes.
Now, you and your husband, well, your husband was born in India, is that correct?
Yes.
However, he's been a citizen of the United States and a resident of Texas since 1986, is that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And you all resided out there in Chambers County, Texas, is that right?
Yes.
And let's see, you lived on Sycamore Lane in Chambers County, is that correct?
Yes.
And were all 6 children, are they aware of this proceeding?
Yes.
And now your husband left a handwritten will, is that right?
Yes.
And you provided me that handwritten will, and it is dated February 21st, 2012, is that right?
Yes.
All the children, all 6 children were born before 2012, is that right?
Yes.
And in that handwritten will dated February 21st, 2012, he left everything to you, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, I noticed that your husband died in 2019, and so that's beyond 4 years, and I told you that is a bit of a problem. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Now, can you tell the court why you didn't probate the will before, within 4 years of his death?
I didn't know I had to, and we had never heard about probate before. In
Okay,
India, nobody knows anything about probate. Only heard about it when my sister passed away in Canada.
okay, and
That
what,
was in 2021.
okay, and at that time, you became aware that you may need to do something, is that right?
Yes.
And then you looked for a will, is that right?
Yes.
And you gave me a typed will, is that right?
Yes.
Now, but in addition to the typed will, you gave me a holographic or handwritten will, which was word for word
Yes.
of the typed will, is that right?
Yes.
And was that handwritten will fully in his name?
Yes.
And in that will, he left everything to you, is that correct?
Yes.
And you have no real estate, or I should say your husband has no real estate other than what's in Texas, is that correct?
Yes.
You own no he owned no property in any country except the United States, is that
Yes,
correct?
that's right.
Now, all of the children, all 6 children, are aware that you have petitioned to be appointed independent administrator in charge of his will, is that right?
Yes.
And their agreement with this proceeding, is that right?
Yes.
Now, I see one of the persons testifying is, how do you say that name?
Shamshir.
Okay.
Shamshir.
Okay, but you're the sole beneficiary of the will, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, Judge, that's all I have. I would now go ahead and proceed to call the, just a second, Saeed.
You may proceed.
Yes. Yeah,
Sure, I'm here.
Saeed,
Yeah. Yes, good morning.
Saeed, would you kind of raise your right hand there, please?
Yes.
That's fine, thank you. And who's that to your left?
I'm Kimberly Mayfield.
Good morning, Miss Mayfield.
Good morning.
Okay, Saeed, state your full name, please.
Syed Shamshir Hussain.
Okay, and now the decedent, well, first of all, are you a beneficiary under the will that has been filed in this case?
I am not.
Your mother, I'm sorry, I'm going to call her Jasmine Hussein is the beneficiary under the will, is that right?
Correct.
And you live at Pearland, Texas?
Yes, sir.
And you were provided with the purported will of Saeed Hussein, is that right?
Yes.
Was it fully in his handwriting?
Yes, sir.
How do you recognize his writing? How are you able to testify that you know his writing and his signature?
I've been looking at his handwriting since I was a child, yeah, young man, yeah.
Okay. And so you're very familiar with his handwriting, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And actually, how are you related to the decedent?
He was my father.
Okay. And, but you're not a beneficiary under the will, is that right?
Yes, I'm not.
Okay. And you have no claim to the estate, right?
No, sir, no claims.
Okay. And, Saeed, thanks so much. I passed the witness. I would now call Miss Mayfield, if I may.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. State your name, Miss Mayfield.
Kimberly Lynn Mayfield.
Okay, and were you acquainted with the decedent, Saeed Shabir Hussein?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and did you know his handwriting?
Yes, sir.
How did you come to recognize his handwriting and signature, ma'am?
Because he's came here and he signed documents before, so that's how I recognize his handwriting.
Okay, how long did you know him?
About 25 years.
Okay, and now I see the will was dated February 21st, 2012, about 11 years ago. Is it your testimony at that time that he was of sound mind?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and do you you did have an opportunity to look at the will, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's all I have, Judge. We are seeking to have this will approved as his last will and testament, and I believe there's been sufficient information with respect to showing that their surviving spouse was not at fault for not probating it within 4 years. The will was lacking in some respect in terms of the appointment of an executor. So accordingly, I filed a petition under 401.002 asking for independent administration, and that Jasmine G. Hussein be appointed independent administrator without bond. And so I'd ask that the court approve the handwritten will of the decedent and that Jasmine Hussein be appointed independent administrator of the estate of Saeed Shabir Hussein.
So done. Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, cause number 108, the state of Donna Jane Davis walk up. What?
Good morning, Judge.
Good morning.
My name is Caleb White. I represent Tony Harriet. I'm here today on the application of probate for the estate of Donna Walkup. Miss Harriet is here with me today. She was appointed in the will as the independent executor. Also with us today is Cindy Manahan. The will included a self-proving affidavit, but the notary put down the wrong date on the will or on the self-proving affidavit. So she's here to testify to the execution of the will and the facts surrounding that.
Okay.
All right. So at this time, Your Honor, I'd like to call Cindy Manahan.
That's me.
There we go. Would you state your name
Yes.
for the record, please?
Ms. Mayan, can you hear?
Cynthia Ann Manahan.
Thank you. And
Yes, I
how did you
can.
know Miss? And how did you know Miss Walkup?
She's a friend / cousin.
And how long did you know her?
30 years.
And did she leave a will dated May 1st, 2023?
Yes, she did.
And did you witness Miss Walkup sign that will?
Yes.
And did Amanda Shelton also witness Miss Walkup sign that will?
Yes, she did.
And did you and Miss Shelton sign that will as attesting witnesses?
Yes, we did.
And y'all did that in Miss Walkup's presence?
Yes, we did.
Was Miss Walkup over the age of 18 when she signed her will?
Yes.
Was she of sound mind when she signed her will?
Yes.
Did she make her will with the desire to distribute her property upon her death?
Yes.
And neither you nor Miss Shelton are named as beneficiaries under the will, correct?
Correct.
All right, and just one last question. The self-proving affidavit that's attached to the will, that was executed and notarized on the same day as the will was executed, correct?
Correct.
All right, Your Honor, I have no further questions for Ms. Manahan.
All right, call your next witness, Counselor.
I'd like to call Tony Harrod at this time.
You may proceed.
Ms. Harrod, will you state your name for the record?
Tony Ann Harrod.
And how do you know Miss Walkup?
She was my mom.
And did Miss Walkup die on November 15th, 2023?
Yes, she did.
And that was in Harris County?
Yes.
Did Miss Walkup reside in Chambers County at the time of her death?
Yes, she did.
And did she leave a will dated May 1st, 2023, which is on file with this court?
Yes.
To the best of your knowledge, did Miss Walkup ever revoke her will?
No.
Were there any children born or adopted after she executed her will?
No.
Was there any marriage that was dissolved of hers after the execution of the will?
No.
Does her will name the state of Texas, a governmental agency of the state of Texas, or a charitable organization as a beneficiary?
No.
Is it true that the decedent's will names you to serve as the independent executor?
Yes.
Is there anybody else named in the will to serve as independent executor?
No.
And to the best of your knowledge, are you disqualified from accepting letters of administration for this estate?
No, I'm not.
Is there a necessity for this estate to be administered?
Yes.
And is there a need for the appointment of appraisers for Miss Walkup's estate?
No.
And will you perform all the duties required of you as independent executor of Miss Walkup's estate?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I have no further questions for Ms. Harrod, and I would like to admit Ms. Walkup's will to probate and for the appointment of Tony Harrod as independent executor with letters of testamentary.
So done. Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you.
All right, cause number 110, the study John Howard Parrish Jr. Mr. Baker, good morning.
Good morning, Judge.
And you may proceed.
Yes, sir. As a preliminary matter, I want to make sure you have in front of you the photocopy or scan of the original will that we are presenting. I think the clerk put file copy on it.
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. And before I begin, because it also in the proposed order, the will we want to prove up as a photocopy or scan. I have it, the proposed order, having that attached and make it made part of the order because that seems the best way to state what's in the will.
Yes.
Okay, and that explains that. All right, now I'll begin my examination. We're here, Your Honor, to on application by Linda Elaine Parrish to have her husband's will admitted to probate as a minimum of title, and there won't be an administration required. It's just to take care of land title issues and record title. All right, ma'am, you are Linda Elaine Parrish, correct?
Yes, I usually go.
I know, hold on.
Okay.
In the will, in the proposed will, we're asking the judge to admit to probate. It calls you Linda Heard Parrish.
Yes.
but you're the same person.
Yes, yes,
Your maiden name was her.
yes,
Right, okay. And you are the widow of John Howard Parrish Jr.,
yes.
okay? And Your Honor, just as an aside, the clerk also has in her file the will of John Howard Parrish Sr. Been a long time family here in Anahuac. And so
Yeah.
it's not a small world thing. Now, John Howard was born, and when I say John Howard, I mean your husband.
Yeah.
Okay. John Howard was born 25 August 1942 in Sugar Land, Texas, correct?
Correct.
And then he died at the age of 74 years in Harris County, Texas on 14 April 2017.
Correct.
All right. Now, it's been almost 7 years since his death, right?
Yes.
And why didn't you produce the will for probate before then, before now?
Well, first of all, I didn't know that I had to have it probate.
Right. You're what I call a victim of beauty shop or barbershop law. Do you know, explain that to you?
No, I think I understand.
Beauty shop or barbershop law is law you hear in the beauty shop or barbershop, right?
Right.
And you got bad advice that if you didn't have any debts, you didn't need to probate the will.
Correct.
Now, since then, you've learned that's not so.
Correct.
Because you've got a land title in both of your names, your home, and you've got some accounts in his name, your name, things like that.
Correct.
And to show what happened to his interest, you have to have a will probated, right?
Yes.
Or do an heirship sort of thing too, you know, but you got to have a probate document to straighten out your land title, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. And so when you found out what you needed to do, you went looking for the original will, right?
Correct.
And when I say original will, it's identical to the copy or scan that we have asked the court to admit to probate.
Yes.
It's just the wet ink version.
Yes.
Right. Okay. And so you knew where John Howard kept it, right?
Yes.
Did you go look?
Yes.
Was it there?
No.
All right. Now, at the end of John Howard's life, he was suffering from dementia, right?
Correct.
And he would do odd, bizarre things with paperwork.
Yes.
And so best you could think, he misplaced that thing somewhere. We don't know where it is.
Correct.
He had no capacity to revoke it. Like there was no reason why he would revoke his will.
No.
Correct?
Correct.
Correct. And so then you went looking for the original. Someone told you, well, it might be at the county clerk's office here in Anahuac, right? And you went looking.
Correct.
And it was not there, was it?
Correct.
But did you get some advice on where it might be? Because for some unexplained reason before you arrived, now you know the reason, but your homestead, the taxes went from being in both of your names to just your name.
Yes.
Right?
Correct.
So how did that happen? Right? So somebody sent you to the appraisal district.
Yes.
All right. And at the appraisal district, what did you find?
That they had a copy of his will.
Even had a picture of the staple on the top left-hand corner of that wet ink will, right?
Yes.
All right. So, and best we can figure is, well, the will left everything to you, so they just put it all in your name, right?
Yes.
All right. And that is the only copy you were able to find of this will.
Correct.
Now, the reason you couldn't find a copy anywhere else is because back in 1974, when you had this will made, John Howard had this will made. Your sister Eugenia Hurd and Judge Wilburn are the legal people that created the will, right?
Yes.
And they didn't keep copies, right? Right. Okay. And so this is the only copy we could find, and thank goodness you found it, but it was all by accident, was it?
Correct.
All right. Now, so now let's get back to, we're explaining the delay and where the wet ink version is. Now, you were married to John when he died, and that is his only marriage, correct?
Correct.
That's your only marriage.
Correct.
All right. And y'all, both of you had the same children, two girls.
Two girls. Correct.
Leslie, Cherie, and Ashley Dawn.
John.
All right. And they have both signed waivers they don't contest any of this, and that's filed in the record of this cause, right?
Correct.
Judge, I'd ask you to take judicial notice of that.
So now,
Have 2 waivers filed. All right.
yes, sir.
And John Howard had no other children.
No.
And these children were born before the date of this will, correct?
Correct.
And after the date of this will, he had no other children adopted or taken into the home.
Correct.
All right. Now, is it true at the time he died, y'all lived in Anahuac, Texas?
Correct.
And had for decades?
Correct.
Okay. And that there's no need for an administration because it is true you didn't have any debts when he died, right?
Correct.
But we could have done this muniment of title back then. You just didn't know you needed to.
Correct.
Because, all right. Now, let's see. Your address is 1108 Stoll Street, Anahuac, Texas, 77514, right?
Correct.
And your mailing address is P.O. Box 1004, Anahuac, Texas.
Correct.
Okay. And the piece of paper I handed to you that says at the top, proof of death and other facts. Have you read it?
Yes.
Is it true?
Yes.
Do you you adopt this piece of paper as your testimony as well?
Yes.
And we will sign and file that after this hearing as a record of your testimony today. Okay? And if John Howard had ever revoked his will, chances are you'd have known about that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And even if he destroyed that will, he didn't have testamentary capacity at the time. He died because of dementia, right?
Correct.
And okay. Okay. Judge, we ask that you admit the photocopy or scan of that will to probate as a muniment of title only, and that you waive any requirement that she sign an affidavit that she has performed what needs to be done in the will because she's the sole devisee in the will.
So done. Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you.
Ms. Harris.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, cause number 111, the state of Audrey Ann for sale.
Good morning, Judge. Yes, Audrey Ann Fussell.
Yeah, Fussell for sale.
Yeah.
You may proceed anyway. We swore you in a while ago, right?
Yes. My name is Leslie Allison Fussell. I am the attorney that filed this case. I'm also the only child of Audrey Ann Fussell, and the person named is the independent executor in that will. Audrey died on December 22nd of 2022 at her residence in Chambers County, Texas, a residence at 1811 BioBreeze Drive, Baytown. She was 75 years old, and it has been less than 4 years, obviously, since the date of her death and today. She had a fixed place of residence in Chambers County for over 25 years, and she did pass away at that residence. She did die with a will. That will was signed on November 30th of 2020. I was present when it was signed. I do recognize her signature on it, and the original is on file in Chambers County. That will was self-proved. There is a necessity for administration of the estate due to real and personal property and securities, everything within the bounds of Texas. That will has never been revoked to the best of my knowledge. The sole heir in that will is Robert Earl Fussell. That is her husband, the only husband she ever had, passed away married to him, married for over 53 years. He resided at that same address, and he is present with me today. There were no children born to Audrey, and no divorce had after this will was executed by her. There is the state of Texas and no charities are the beneficiary of that will. She did name me to serve as the independent executrix and to act without bond or other security. I have never been convicted of any felony or misdemeanor, know of no reason I would be disqualified from serving in that capacity. So we're requesting that letters testamentary be issued today.
All right, everybody probate, order the probating of the will and authorize letters testamentary. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, Judge.
Have a good day. All right, number 112, the state of Karen W. Quarles. Mr. Cotton.
Yes,
morning.
Judge. How are you today?
Good. You may proceed.
Thank you. Karen W. Paget, also known as Karen Quarles Wallace, died November the 30th, 2023 in Trinity County at the age of 75 years. 4 years have not elapsed since her death. The court has jurisdiction over this case since her principal estate was located in Chambers County at the time of her death, and she had no fixed residence in Trinity County when she died. She died testate, and the will that I'm looking at now was signed November 10th, 2015, and it has never been revoked so far as I know. She did not apply for nor receive Medicaid benefits on or after March the 1st of 2005. There is a necessity for the administration of this estate. The will is self-proven. There is no state, governmental agency, or charitable organization named in the will as a devotee, and after the date of the will, there were no children born to or adopted by her. No marriage was dissolved after the date the will was made, and her will named Avery Todd Wallace to serve as the independent executor. He is qualified and not disqualified. Judge, it is a small estate. We'd ask that you appoint Avery Todd Wallace as the independent executor, waive appraisers, and admit this will to probate.
So done. Thank you, Counselor. All right, cause number 113, the state of Robert Emmanuel.
Here we go.
Mr. Dawson.
Yes, sir. Judge, I'll call Michelle L. Morris.
You may proceed.
Would you state your name, ma'am?
Michelle L. Emmanuel. I'm sorry, Michelle L. Morris.
Okay, and at one time you were an Emmanuel, is that right?
Yes,
Okay, and how are you related to Robert E. Emmanuel?
daughter.
And I noticed that in the will, he appointed your mother as independent executor, is that right?
Yes.
Now that her name would be Carolyn D. Emmanuel. Why can't she serve?
She has early onset of Alzheimer's.
And has she signed a written declination to serve, which has been filed in the court?
Yes,
Okay, and she doesn't want to serve, right?
correct.
And you're asking the court to be appointed independent executor without bond, is that right?
Yes,
Now, he died in Chambers County, Texas in November 11, 2023. His age was 85, correct?
that's correct.
His residence was in Chambers County at the time of his death, is that right?
Yes,
Now, the will is dated March 30th, 2004. To your knowledge, that was his last will, is that correct?
that's correct.
And the necessity exists for the administration of the estate, is that right?
Yes,
There was no children born or adopted after the date of the will, is that
No.
right?
correct.
And he married your mother Carolyn on August 11, 1961, is that correct?
Yes,
So that was, golly, they were married over 60 years, right?
yes,
And there's no gift to charities or any governmental entity under the will, is that right?
that's correct.
It's a non-taxable estate, is that right?
Yes,
And there's no need for an appraisal of any of the property, is that correct?
that's correct.
And at no time did he apply for Medicaid benefits.
No, he did not.
And you're qualified to serve as independent executor, and you're asking to be appointed independent executor in as much as your mother has refused in writing, is that right?
Yes,
And you don't have any criminal record other than maybe some traffic tickets, is that correct?
that's correct.
Judge, I'd ask that the will dated March 30th, 2004 of Robert E. Emanuel be admitted to probate, and that his daughter, Michelle L. Morris, be appointed independent executor without bond, and that's all I have.
So done. Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
Thank you, Judge.
Take care, man. All right, number 114, last but not least, the state of Andrew S. Sloan May the 3rd. Mr. Cotton.
Thank you, Judge. Andrew S. Sloan May III died October the 2nd, 2023 in Houston, Harris County, Texas at the age of 73 years. The court has jurisdiction and venue over the estate in that his principal estate is located in Chambers County. To the best of my knowledge, he died testate, and his will was signed on April the 8th, 2000, never having revoked that will. He did not apply for nor receive Medicaid benefits on or after March the 1st, 2005. There is a necessity for the administration of this estate. The will was self-proven. There's no state, governmental agency, or charitable organization named in the will as a devisee. After the date of the will, there were no children born to or adopted by him. No marriage was ever dissolved after the date of the will. His will named Becky Irwin May to serve as the independent executrix and to serve without bond. Judge, it is a small estate. Would ask that the appraisers be waived, that the will be admitted to probate, and that Becky Irwin May be appointed as the independent executrix.
So done. And
Thank you, Judge.
For the record, this is Melinda's last probate with us. She's retiring tomorrow. So good luck, Melinda. We love you.
We're gonna miss you, that's for sure.
Yeah, we're gonna miss you. All right, just want to put that on the record.
Thank you, Judge. May I be
Judge.
excused?
Take care. You may be.
Yes, y'all are the best.
Thank you, ma'am.